And welcome back to Who Would Win. Today's Who Would Win comes to us from Ernesto Savecki. There's Ernesto S, so I don't butcher your name any further. Who asked the question, who won the fight between the T-800 versus Robocain, aka Robocop 2 from Robocop 2? I've done T-800 a couple times, but T-800 was the go-to model for Skynet in the future when the machines, the AI, took over. They're Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? Yeah, I mean, seriously, they're like 6 foot something. They are pure metal, far physically superior to any normal human. Can easily break bones, punch a hole into someone's chest. They can take an okay amount of damage, but they're surprisingly not that difficult to beat. They can survive, for instance, they can survive an explosion and easily survive fire. In the original, when the tanker that Arnold was driving crashed, he survived it. However, actual firearms fire can, you just need a good shot and you can put it down, or just semi-automatic fire can put it down. Pipe bomb blew it up, got crushed in a compressor. It's not overly difficult to bring a T-800 down. In a hand-to-hand fight, you will lose every damn time. But if you have, say, I don't know, I'm just gonna the sword on the back of my wall here, which isn't even sharp. It's just I don't know if you can see that, by the way. Yeah. See that black line? That's a sword. Hold on, I've actually brought this out before in one of my other videos. Hypothetically, even though this has no blade on it whatsoever, this is literally just a display piece. I could bludgeon a T-800 with this enough times, stab it in there, working and trying to pull things out, distract it, all while trying to rip other things out, that I could beat a T-800 with this, hypothetically. Chances are slim, but hypothetically. Robocain, though. Robocain, they're still dangerous, though. They still usually wield either lasers or automatic weapons, especially in the future. Robocain, though, is the main antagonist of Robocop 2. He was designed, theoretically, to be better in every way than the original Robocop, being much larger, much more physically powerful, being more heavily armored, including surviving direct blast from the Cobra assault cannon, and a head-to-head collision from an APC. He was equipped with hydraulic... will you stop doing the ad thing? I'm trying to read here. He was equipped with things including a angled armor, beak-like armor faceplate to contain a blurry screen. Basically, he could actually show his human face in there. He was equipped with a what was he? Oh yeah, there was a head. He held a left multi-barreled rotating chain gun. Not even a machine gun, a chain gun, retractable battering ram. Both arms have 3 claws and are more powerful enough to snap an adult human's neck, or hook the entire unit into a slanted roof. Left shoulder held a smaller arm capped with a claw that resembled the jaws of life, and the right hand held a cutting torch, powerful enough to scar Robocop's faceplate, and an armor-piercing assault cannon similar to that of the Clarence's gun or the Cobra assault cannon. Both feet had sharpened knife-like talons that could grip solid asphalt, and even if the entire machine rolled forward. Just like Robocop, though, this still was powered technically by a human brain in there. Cain was the name, hence it's called Robocain. The guy was also addicted to something called nuke, which was basically kind of like their heroin. As a matter of fact, it was in a liquid form. I think it was basically an equivalent of heroin. And he had to have it, otherwise he would go through withdrawals and go crazy. He was strong enough to go toe-to-toe with Robocop. In fact, by all accounts, he is physically superior to Robocop in just about every way. Robocop, though, did have the advantage of not being a drug addict and being a former cop, and they're also having a smaller body allowed him to be a bit more maneuverable, even though Robocop is slow as hell. And he ultimately was able to overcome the superior model Robocain, Robocop 2. In a fight between the T-800 and Robocain, who would win? Well, that is a pretty easy answer, actually. It would be Robocain. The reason for that is the T-800 really isn't that fast either, not much faster than Robocop. It can move at a normal human speed if it had to. We just don't see them running very often. But if it comes to physical strength, firearms, all that, Robocain completely has a T-800 outmatched in every way. If he picks up the T-800, he can smash him around until he just goes blank. He can literally just blow him away with just superior firepower. He also has a human brain, so he can think at least a little bit more creatively, even being a junkie. So, and he's just more heavily armored, so whatever damage T-800 does dish out is negated. So, in a one-on-one fight, Robocain completely takes the win. However, let's at least be fair here. Let's do the math and think on it real quick. How many T-800s would it take to bring down Robocain? Because if I could just do like, what if he fought 10, what if he fought 50? But let's actually think about more of like, how many T-800s would it take to beat Robocain? Let's say Robocain is still around, like he survived somehow, whatever. Yeah, getting his brain crushed, that works. That he survives that, no. But hypothetically, in an alternate scenario where Robocain survived, was like maybe kept underground, but is alive, able to function, and awakens during Skynet's takeover. He awakens and there's an army of T-800s out there, and they see him, and they first think he's a Terminator, but then he starts attacking them, and they attack back. So, how many T-800s do you think it would take for him to go down? So, here's the thing. In terms of firepower, he's going to be able to mow down a lot of those guys before he runs out of ammo, because he's got a damn chain gun of all things on there. And the T-800s are easily mass-produced, but that means they come with a lot of defects. So a good couple shots could easily mow down a good couple dozen T-800s, no problem. The real scenario of the fight here is actually going to happen when Cain ultimately runs out of ammo and just has to rely on his physicality alone. Ugh. That's because he's got such high durability that the T-800s, except for maybe the plasma cannons or plasma rifles they generally carry, the T-800s generally don't carry weaponry that would be able to pierce his armor. They would have to get lucky and hit something like the hydraulics or the weaker points on him. But the plasma rifles, the problem is he's supposed to be more superior to the original Robocop, who also tanked plasma rifles. I can't remember if it was in a movie or in like the TV series or whatever, but he did tank plasma energy weapons as well. Ugh. So I will say this. If once suppressing fire starts to be put down, it is simply going to be a matter of overrunning him, them starting to try to tear Robocain apart. My best guess is that after he's mowed down the initial lot, run out of all of his ammo, and just starts wailing through them, it would probably take at least 100 T-800s to take down Robocain. At least. Just because he's going to mow down his initial couple dozen. Let's assume that means 36 of them. I say a couple is 2, but let's highball it, because he can do a spray effect and just wiped out the first couple lines. Let's say out of the 100, that's 36 of the T-800s just done. Dunzo. Then he's got a couple other smaller. He's got the cutting torch. He can kind of, but that's a slow means of killing something. He's just going to kind of wail on things, crush them. He's just going to kind of like hulk through them for a while. But after a while, then he's going to start getting hit by the plasma rifles. So it's going to be ding, ding, and maybe they don't do much, but they're able to kind of like jostle him a bit. It's going to hit more of his vulnerable areas eventually. He's going to start being overtaken, but he's still going to keep taking him down, going down with the ship, basically. Yeah, I'd say it probably would take I mean, granted, it's going to take like at least 10 of them, 12 of them with like repeating fire. Just like boom, 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 boom. Keep laying that suppressive fire down just to keep him at bay. But ultimately, yeah, I think it would probably take at least 100, maybe, I might be highballing a little too much. Let's say anywhere between 80 and 100. I think that's a bit more of a reasonable number. Between 80 and 100 T-800s to bring down one Robocain. Which still ultimately is kind of a win for Robocain, because I think it takes that many of those guys to bring him down. Now, if this were to say a T-1000, Robocain is absolutely effed, because Robocain doesn't have a damn thing to deal with the T-1000. And if it were the TX, Robocain, well, actually, TX is a bit of a... TX actually would have a problem with both Robocop and Robocain, because while the TX can reprogram machinery, they have a human brain, so you can't reprogram that. Now, they might, and because the machinery is linked to his physical, or linked to his neural passages, his actual thought processes, yeah, that might actually be one of those scenarios where TX might not be, this would actually be a bad matchup for the TX. But then you get the, what was it, the T-3000 or whatever Connors was in Genesis, which concept-wise, and they even looked fine. It's just that movie was bad. I still contend that first quarter or third of the movie until they go back in the future wasn't bad. In fact, if that had been the whole movie, it probably would have been fine. But that said, and then you have like Dark Fate with the Rev 9. The Rev 9 would have been an issue because it's both a T-1000 and basically a T-850, more or less in one. So yeah, that would have been a problem. That would have been a big problem. But we're not talking about those. We're talking about T-800. And if we're talking just about T-800, in a one-on-one fight, Robocain's going to win. And in an army fight, I think it would take at least 80 to 100 to bring down Robocain. So ultimately, Robocain, I think, takes the overall win. But again, army, enough of them would be able to take down a Robocain, no doubt. That is, though, just my opinion. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Put it in the comments below. Thanks for watching, though. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.